Has anyone heard of dark lands? Most of the world refers to these as cell phone dead zones. For example, in the United States, there are places around the country that have very little cell phone service. But they're now actually towns trying to deliberately prevent reception on purpose to encourage less screen time. Green Bank, West Virginia, population 143, has actually banned cell phones and Wi-Fi. Usage is punishable by law. My version of dark lands used to be the airplane. I remember when airplanes didn't have Wi-Fi. Do you guys remember that? Some of you? I used to be so much more productive than I am today, relying on that terrible go-go internet. It's like a drip line. It's awful. Sometimes I joke with my wife about those days when I loved being on an airplane. I said, you know, maybe we should put an airplane seat in our garage with a tray table, and I could go in there and sit in it and buckle the seatbelt and maybe be more productive. Many technology companies explicitly are trying to get you to spend more and more time on your phone. It's their business model. But I'm not sure that's the right model for all of us. Instead, I think we need to focus on time well spent. I think this might be more like it. At Pinterest, we actually don't measure time spent. We actually goal our teams and measure something we call time well spent. Because we're literally trying to get our users off of their devices to go out into the world and do things. And when we do this, we actually believe that we've done our jobs.
When something tastes imperfect, your brain wants to balance it out with other flavors, and that's what creates an appetite.
That is, imperfection creates the perfect appetite. That might apply to advertising as well. You know, a perfect message that is perfectly on brand, perfectly in context, and perfectly targeted doesn't always succeed. By being too perfect, people lose their interest and attention and stop being imaginative.
With all the advertising technologies now out there, it's easy to get carried away and insist on perfection. But the perfect plan isn't in fact perfect at all. Imperfection is much more intriguing. We should cherish the imperfect, the inexplicable, the mysterious. We should focus on that indefinable something that engrosses people, because there may lie the key to the future of creativity.
A piece of literature or an ad, at their best, serve a very singular purpose. They move you. They inspire you. And at times, they persuade you. My friend Jeff calls them a superpower. I call it a gift from the Almighty. I remember I grew up in the church. A gift that allows us to shape the world, to change perspectives and viewpoints, to make people think and see things differently. An image can do that. A song can do that. A well-thought-out slogan can do that. By definition, when you apply the ability to move someone with a just cause, you have created a movement. We can do that. The most powerful creative minds in the world are here at this conference. Some of them are in this room. You have the ability. And we're here to celebrate that ability, to persuade one another, to motivate one another, to change one another. The world is going to be forced to recognize a change.
The problem of hate anywhere is a problem for us everywhere. And look what happened in Manchester. The minute there was an issue that happened, the first thing that happened was a concert that was thrown and people came together. I don't know what it is about when things are really tight and really tense and horrific that those become the times when we become the strongest. And this should be not an exception to that at all.
And this country, and I'll say the world at some degree, is still afraid to get uncomfortable. That uncomfortableness will create change. This presentation, and we know, it was at some points very uncomfortable, but we have to have these serious conversations in order to get somewhere. So if I'm having an uncomfortable conversation with you about how I feel or what I want in my life, have the same one with me. That's dialogue. That's the only way we can move forward, and that's the only way we can actually create the movement that we seek.
And how has Twitter started this conversation? The hashtag. It's been the means of which to collect conversation and get people to mobilize around movements. Just think, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Love Wins, which became legislation, hashtag Yes All Women, hashtag Virginia's for Lovers. See how that holds up? The through line here is that a powerful idea married with a provocative narrative can inspire people to conversation, for a cause, to a cause, and with a cause.
What advice would you give to someone just starting out who has a passion for something, but maybe doesn't have the money or doesn't have the backing or doesn't have the connections? What would your advice be in this day and age with technology? And
well, the first thing you got to do is you got to pick something you love, because then all that other stuff, not that it's not important, falls by the wayside. Because you'll do anything if you love it. You'll live, eat, breathe it, which people say. And if you love it, you'll kind of find a solution, and your why, you'll get to the place where you need to be. So that's the first thing. I tell it to my kids. Unless you love it and really are passionate about it and care deeply about it, don't go down that path, because it is hard. And you get your teeth kicked in every day, and you just have to keep on going. And the only way you keep on going is if you have that passion for it. And that's what I would say to somebody. It has to start there. Because then after that, you just constantly think about it and think about every which way to solve a problem. And there's constant problems.
Yeah, this is what I always said. Listen, nobody had a dumber idea than I did. It was the dumbest idea anybody had ever heard about buying the UFC. The thing was going out of business. Boxing was so huge and so cemented in American culture, American, Europe, and everywhere else. It was so cemented. It looks like one of those things, like you could never overcome boxing. You could never beat that. Don't let anybody ever tell you never and you can't do this. Get in there, shake it up, and break all the rules. That's what I said. That's what I did. I looked at boxing, and I looked at all the things that they were doing wrong, and I said, man, if I had the opportunity to go in and get my hands on something like this, I would change this, I would change that. So many people every day get up in the morning, jump in their car, and drive to jobs that they absolutely hate. And if you think you don't have the connections or the whatever, listen, believe me, I've heard people tell me this a million times. Oh, you were lucky. You went to high school with these guys who had millions of dollars and they backed you on this deal. They backed me on the deal because they believed in it. They believed it. Listen, we weren't that good of friends, okay? Where they're just going to throw $2 million out to me because, they went to high school with me. They believed in it too. And let me tell you what, there's a lot of private equity money out there right now. There's zillions of dollars in private equity. Ask this guy. So if you have the right idea, you love it, you're passionate about it, and you're willing to literally work 24/7, 365, I promise you, you can go raise the money.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you no.